son's been a member of Rotary for a few years, 5 years. And our...
I'm trying to catch up to Dick Front.
We okay? So anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about the building, and tonight we're actually going to walk back in the shop and look at some cars. So this building for about 100 years was a Chevrolet dealership, and we moved here in 2013. We do everything here, body work, mechanical work, which is kind of unique. Actually, this month I celebrated 40 years in my own business, December 2nd, 1979. I started up on Ring and Hill, and I moved around town to a few different locations. I had a gas station for about 20 years. Been doing this a long time. But we came here, like I said, in 2013, and we brought the body shop here, mechanical shop here, and Nick has been the front man, does an excellent job running the front, taking care of everybody. Takes care of everybody. He orders the parts. He keeps us going in the back. I'm usually in the back. I like to work on cars. I don't like bookkeeping. I don't like that part of the business. So my wife Kelly's been keeping the books for 40 years. She does that. And most of the time when you come in, Nick is the guy you talk to. So he is on the phone a lot, but I got him a headset now, so he's mobile. Okay. So anyway, yeah, enjoy the business. I know a lot of people, even today I had somebody come in and say, we thought we only work on old cars, because usually there's an old car in the window. But as our slogan says, old cars or new cars.
Brand new ones.
Yep, or new ones, that's right. The olds that's in the window tonight actually is a very rare car. From time to time we have classic cars for sale. We have regular cars for sale. So if you're looking for a $5,000 car, ask Nick if we have anything. And if you're looking for an investment car or an old car to have fun with, we have some of them too. Right now, the Oldsmobile's in here. We have other cars for sale on consignment. So there's not too much we don't do here, automotive, or we can steer you to the right place to get your car fixed. Some of the newer cars, which we'll talk about later in the back, you have to go to the dealer, but I'd say 75% of the services we can do right here under your warranty. What's unique about us is we have a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on parts and labor nationwide. I don't think any other independent has that good a deal. So if you get an alternator put in or get something put in and you go to Florida and it doesn't work, there's, Nick will tell you how many hundreds or thousands TechNet dealers across the country that will warranty that item. So that's what stands us, out is the warranty and the 3 years, 36,000. And then we also offer roadside assistance, free towing up to $75 twice a year. So if you do business here, you'll find out quickly that we really offer some good services. Been doing it a long time, and we stand behind what we do. So again, anybody that wants to go in the back, we're going to open up the door, we're going to go back. Nick's going to talk a little bit about PA inspections, and we're going to show you what goes on a daily basis at Wheels in Motion. But before we do that, I'd like Kirsten to come up here and tell everybody about the Rotary. What do you guys do? I mean, it's a bunch of businesses get together, you raise money.
Well, first I want to say thank you for
Thank
having
you
us
for coming.
here.
Mhm.
And I'm going to phone a friend. And I have Dave Zarnecki here.
Okay.
And he's very good at explaining everything that is Rotary.
Okay, Dave and I go way back. My buddies are. I had the gas station on Farmington Avenue, and he used to come in there a long time ago.
Actually helped replace the roof.
You did replace the roof. We had a roof day. We had like 20 guys on the roof one day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Dave, what's Rotary? Tell everybody.
Rotary is the largest civic organization in the world, and here in Pottstown we have 90 strong members, and we do great community service. So if you're one of those people here in the community in the Pottstown area and would love to join the hottest club in the area, Pottstown Rotary Club is at. You can contact Nick here at Wheels in Motion. We have young people to old people in the group. We have a lot of great people. I have 90 more aunts and uncles than I did before. We have a lot of fun helping the community with great things that we do. And come on out and join us and see what we're all about. Thanks.
All right, Dave, thank you. Thank you, Kirsten, very much. So now we're gonna go in the back and check out some of the cars that we're working on. All right, so now we're in the back of the shop of Wheels of Motion. This part of the building where we ate and we hung out was a carriage house back in the early 1900s. In 1926, the Kaiser brothers went to a local bank and they were very handy fixing cars. And the bank loaned them, was it $80,000?
$80,000, yes.
On their goodwill, because they seem like nice guys.
Bob, would you do that today? Is the
Yeah, I said, where's Bob at, right? So the back half of this building, as you see it, is pretty much the way it was. I have pictures going back. This is the way it was back in 1926. Opened as a Moon dealership. Then it became Studebaker, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile. Eventually, they all went away and Chevrolet stayed until 2008. So really cool old building. Up above us is unbelievable. 2 more floors of storage. Above there is storage. So there's plenty of places to hide parts and keep inventory and everything else. So we moved here, like I said, in 2013. Basically, that half is the body shop. This half is the mechanical shop. Traditionally, or before, this was just service and new car sales. So the first one I'll talk about is this little Thames. Like I say, I have a reputation for working on old cars. This gentleman was hit in the back end on the way to a car show, and he brought it to me. And you can see I left some of the metal lay there. You can see this lower panel and the inner panel, how badly it was hit, and the doors were smashed. So my job for the past 3 or 4 months, in between everything else, was to get this one fixed up. So this panel was made, welded in, fixed, and it's pretty much ready to go. It's a 1959 Thames, which is an English Ford. It was made in England by Ford. It was a little 4-cylinder, city vehicle for deliveries and so forth. But as you can see, it's been heavily modified into a hot rod with a small block Chevy engine and a narrow rear. So from that type of work to collision work to inspection work is what we do here. You can see the cars around, the Cadillac on the lift. I restored that in 1988, and now it's time to do it again. So it's a 68 Cadillac convertible. You can see the Carmen Ghia. And now my son, Nick, is going to talk to you a little bit about state inspection, service work, check engine lights. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and we're going to go back there in the corner to the couple cars that are on the lift.
The first thing I always talk about when people bring their car in, and I see this a lot, is owner's card, insurance card. So many people, they're not current, they're not this. So when you bring your car in, always make sure that's up to date. And if you get pulled over too, it'll cause a lot of, save a lot of time, you know? So first thing we have to do is for when we do this process is we have to do the emissions. This is the machine we use. We plug in the gas cap to make sure it passes, and then we plug in to the car to make sure that it passes emissions. If the check engine light is on, those issues have to be repaired. There's 50, 100 different sensors depending on the car that might have to be repaired to fix the check engine light. So that's something that I had this problem fixed. Well, no, you had one problem fixed for the check engine light. So that has to be repaired. And then once that's repaired, it has to be driven. There's maybe 10, 12 different monitors that have to be reset to prove that it was redone. Back in the old days of OBD1, which is dumb computers, I guess to put it the best way, is you could unplug the battery, plug it back in, and it would pass. Now you can't do that. It has to be fixed properly to make sure that it's done. Sometimes it can be a pain. So anytime I recommend people who have a check engine light on, get it in early because it's a lot easier to fix your car, have you drive it, and then bring it back instead of waiting until December 31st and I need inspection, brakes, tires, everything else. So that's just something to keep in mind. And that's something that the emissions test is governed by the state. It's something we have to follow. There's regulations. There's no cheat in or can you hook a brother up type of thing. No. It's you plug it in, it's pass or fail, you get a sticker, that's it. And like I said, that's regulated by the state. We have a QAO officer that comes in that makes sure that we are following the rules, following the laws. So if not, we get fined, lose our license, stuff like that. So it's a very serious thing that we have to keep, like I said, straight on that everything gets done. So that's the first part. So hopefully you don't have a check engine light on and we can move to part 2 of the inspection process. Good. So the next part after it passes emissions is going to be the inspection process. So for state inspection, it's a safety inspection. Do all the lights work? So we do like brake lights, backup lights, headlights, turn signals, stuff like that. And then how thick are the tires? If they look like a Hoosier slick, that's not good. They're going to need to be replaced. How are the brake pads? Are they thick? Is it going to stop the vehicle properly? And then we're going to look for like the exhaust, the mufflers, the shocks, the suspension. And all this stuff, again, is important for your safety. You know, some people don't want to get this repaired because of cost, but this is your safety. This is important stuff to get fixed. And we look at all that stuff, and then there is a pass or fail, again, regulated by the state. And if you bring your car here, we like to develop a relationship with you. So I might say, hey, Jim, by wintertime, you should get some tires. They're okay now, but you're good. And then also, too, how far do you drive? Is this your old man truck that you use to get mulch and it doesn't leave Pottstown? So maybe our standards are a little bit lower versus I drive to King of Prussia every day. So, you know, or if your wheels are delivering meals, we got to have it in tip-top shape. Where's Jean at? That was a dig towards her. I wanted her to laugh at that. So these are kind of the things we look at, and like I said, and when we give you recommendations based on that, and we try to be fair and honest with you. I know sometimes people go into shops and they feel like at mercy. What are they going to tell me is wrong with my car? Is it really wrong with my car? So we try to be honest with you and tell you what is actually wrong with your car and then what it may need or what it's going to need in the future. So something like that is very important to, like I said, develop a relationship with your local mechanic that you feel comfortable that these guys are telling me the truth. They're not just selling me a bag of goods. So that's kind of the things we look at. And then, you know, we're more than happy if you have questions. We can show you what we see, what we're looking at, what the problem is. So it's important to be transparent because I know sometimes this is not fun or something that you want to spend your money on. I always say if we were selling steak and beers, I'd have a lot better time, but car repair isn't always the fun part. Which after you get through the state inspection part is the maintenance. We have vehicles that are $30, $40, $50, $60,000. You want to maintain it. Certain things like just the type of oil to use. As you see here, we have different blends of oil, and then we have different stuff. So your 20-year-old, your Hyundai might take a different oil than Sandy Albitz's GL450 Mercedes. So it's going to vary. A $35 oil change, or is it a $170 oil change? But you want to put what's proper in your car. You want to follow the maintenance schedules. And then when we do that, we change the oil, we change the filter, we check the air filter, we check the wiper blades, we check the tires, we test the coolant, we test the battery. So it also helps you. Sometimes you want to replace something at your terms. Like a battery it's cold out. Batteries fail in the summer, they fail in the winter. So you want to replace it on your terms now, not when it's 8 degrees and snowing out, and then you got to replace your battery and deal with it getting towed and all that stuff. So this is all important stuff that we check at the oil change, and like I said, making sure it has the proper fluids in it. You know, some people complain because they get new cars, like a BMW, for example. Why is my oil change so much? That's the type of car you bought. That's part of maintaining that type of car. And to put it blunt, exactly. And to put it bluntly, if you don't like those type of repair bills, don't buy that type of car. And I tell people, ask me, call me up. Hey, I'm thinking of buying a BMW. Here's my opinion on it, good or bad, so you know what you're getting into. Now, some people will know, I bought a BMW, this is what I'm getting into, I understand. But you get so many people that buy the car because they want the emblem, they want the image, they want the status, but then when it's $900 to replace a starter versus $400 on a normal car, they're upset or they can't afford it. So kind of live between your means, you know, buy a car that you can afford. Talk to people, you know, don't just buy it because of the emotional attachment. What's practical? So that's kind of one of the other things that we talk about. Because with the new cars, as it goes on, there's so many sensors, so much stuff. A Dodge Neon, very basic car, very affordable to maintain. If you don't have a lot of money or don't want to spend a lot of money, stick with a Dodge Neon or something simple. But as the new cars go on, there's so many sensors, backup sensors, parking sensors, lane departure warnings, all this stuff. This stuff has to be done. And which we move on to the body part of it, all this stuff has to be reprogrammed, replaced, sensors. So sometimes it's not just a simple bumper cover anymore. there's a blind spot sensor right here. So if the bumper gets impacted there, that has to be replaced. Like I know we did a Toyota bumper and it had a radar sensor. That was a $300 extra thing to reprogram the sensor in addition to painting the bumper, putting it on and stuff like that. So think about these things when you're buying your car. Make sure your insurance is good. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure you have good insurance. Your friendly insurance man, Len, maybe he can help you with that,
Rental insurance.
Make sure you have rental coverage. So many people come in, I don't have rental. Well, dude, your car's gonna be here a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to get all this stuff done. And then you're bumming rides, begging, borrowing, stealing, or whatever. How much is rental, Len? $5 a month? Yeah. Why? Okay, I don't know. How much?
No, on your policy.
For a rental coverage?
No, on your policy.
How much on your policy?
$30 a year.
Right.
Okay. Why not have it? And I think some people, Len, I want the cheapest insurance. Well, this is what you get. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but this is kind of what we deal with, as far as that goes. Have rental on your policy. And make sure it's for your needs. Like a woman came in with 5 kids, needed a minivan. A Toyota Corolla is not going to work for her. So make sure you have the proper coverage for your needs and all that stuff. So that's also something that we deal with. Yes, sir.
Before you were born, and your dad probably remembers this, but
Yeah.
in the state of Pennsylvania, you had to have 2 inspections a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Semi-annual.
I'm going to say 30 years ago, maybe, they changed it. And now you have 1. Do you find people are not keeping care of their car
Yes, sir.
as well as they did before when you had to have it done 2 times?
And I would say it's a younger thing, and I don't mean to be offensive, but the older people are very interested in their car. They're making sure. They don't leave the borough of Pottstown, but they got to have everything tight. Where my friends are like, yeah, I'm driving to North Carolina on bald tires, and it's like, dude, I would be scared, you know what I mean? And it's funny, I always use this example. There's a lady, she's maybe early 60s, I would say, but I said she had a Subaru. Hey, Donna, your car takes 0 W20. Well, that's kind of thin, isn't it? Now, she's not a mechanic. I doubt she could even change a light bulb, but she had that thought process in her head that that's some thin oil, and you don't see that with the younger people. They drive it till it breaks, and then it's $1,000, and then they can't afford to fix it. And you see that with a lot of these vehicles. So that's kind of my spiel on the service side, Follow your owner's manual. Maintain your vehicle, Ask questions. Call me up. I can help you. You know what I mean? I can make sure it stays in tip-top shape because these are expensive cars. Sometimes you get a bill and it's $2,000 bill. Well, if that's cheaper than a year's worth of payments, the average car payment is $529 a month. That's over $6,000 a year. So if we can spend a little money on maintaining it, that's going to be cheaper in the long run. Make it last. The average car is 11.1 years old. That's the average car on the road. So they do last if you take care of them, if you want to take care of them. Some people drive them till they die. Some people want to flip them because they lease them every couple of years. But if you're on that latter group that like to drive them when they die, you can keep them and with minimal repairs. But if you plan it along as you go, it's not going to be so bad versus trying to do it in one shot. Yes, sir. Oh.
So what do you do, I guess, on a yearly, whatever basis to keep up on every single, brand of car, all the intricacies, because you said everything's changing. Like, how in the world do you keep up with all of that?
Between reading, talking to people, just experience. Sometimes it is on the fly. Like, we might have done a particular job, but I never did it on a BMW 535, So it is learning. We do have software we subscribe to that gives us the information, like how do you take apart a alternator on a BMW 535? I don't know. Well, then you realize, oh, you got to take the bumper off, take the headlight out, take this to access it. So sometimes it's experience, knowledge, looking it up on software, stuff like that. But it is an ever-changing process because a 2010 car or a 2000 Neon is a Model T compared to this vehicle or an Equus that Glenn has. I mean, that thing's like a spaceship compared to this car, you know what I mean? So it's amazing the technology, how it's changed, because from the 50s, 60s, 70s, even maybe even early 80s, it kind of was the same overall as far as technology. You didn't need to maybe learn as much or know as much, but every year it's ever changing. this body style, oh, it's just this. Is it a 2013 or is it a 2017? That means 5 different things because it could be 5 different motors, 5 different bumper covers, different sensors, different this. So it's an everyday thing. If you're not learning, you can't get anywhere, you know? So it's a full-time job educating yourself. So there's that. So I think that pretty much concludes the service side as far as that goes. If anybody has any further questions, or anything else, I find that on the service side, it used to be 70 or 90, 95% hands-on. Now we find it's maybe 60-40, 60% hands-on, 40% scan tools, data, computers, looking up on the scan tool, talking to the car more or less. And as these electric cars go on, I could see maybe a future when I'm my father's age that it's a bunch of guys in the back with computers, maybe not with maybe smaller toolboxes, because that's where it's going. If you read the news, everybody's on electric cars, GM, Ford, Chrysler, BMW, everybody wants electric cars, so we're kind of seeing that future go that way. And you always wonder, can you keep up? I have this collection of automotive service. They're like a trade journal for auto mechanics. In 1958, will the average repairman keep up with the complicated cars of 1958? And you laugh because it's like,
That's been going on forever.
there's
Yeah.
nothing to them. But we've always found this way to evolve and learn and keep ourselves educated. And it costs money, of course. And like I said, this is what keeps us in business over maybe someone in the backyard. And I feel like the backyard mechanic can't survive anymore because they can't do anything anymore. They're finding themselves struggling even to do a brake job because it has electronic parking brake like this thing. I don't know if anybody has a car where some people have the button on or the lever with their foot. This car has a button, you hit the parking brake. So you need a scan tool to release the parking brake to do a brake job. Something simple that a guy in his front yard was doing for years is now unable to do because of what's going on.
You know, to your point,
Yes, sir.
Pottsgrove just got 2 electric police cars.
What kind of vehicle is it?
It's a Ford,
Ford, okay, wow.
and they just got 2 of them. I mean, they ordered them. I'm not sure they have them yet, but I mean, you know, again, in 10 years,
Where are we going to be? And the
Yeah.
technology is evolving so quick now, and I just see it. Like I said, a 2010 is a Model T compared to these, like I said, the onboard computers.
Since we moved into this building, the electronic, that's only 6 years. The cars, the sensors, the backups, all like Nick's saying, it's just, went crazy. And like I said, when they're in a collision, we're the guys that have to make it work. And you have to make people understand that it's not just the bumper and a screw. It's complicated sometimes,
So I think we're going to move on to our body shop side of everything. I know people are interested in that.
Nick, thank you. You did a great job. The most important thing that Nick said is maintenance. Read your owner's manual. Because if you take care of a car, it'll last you a lot longer than if you don't. We're going to go over here to the collision side. Busted out the back window. It needs a new quarter panel. That's not a bolt-on quarter panel. That's not an easy job. That has to be put on, welded on. Now, you just don't put it on the way Mike wants to do it. You have to do it I-CAR is what the collision. So when a car leaves here, it's done properly. Somebody might get the idea of weld an extra brace in there to make it better than new. No, you don't mess with the structure of the car because if it does get hit again, it's designed to crumple a certain way. So it's very complicated, and like people just put a fender on it and paint it. Well, it's a little more than that. So this one here is here for that. This one, if you guys can make your way around, and we have a tape measure, which is fine, to measure where the car's been at. So this Subaru Forester was hitting the back hard, and we have to replace the trunk pan. It's wedged between the frame rails. So you have to separate the frame rails, which is the structure of the car, to get the trunk pan out. Didn't even know that until you get into the job, that it's kind of unique the way it's done. It's a good way to do it for strength, but it's hard to repair. So Jeff, our lead guy that does this type of work, is cutting this out, and you guys can all walk by then, and you'll see what it takes. The exhaust system was smashed, the bumper was smashed, the tailgate smashed, the frame's bent. Don't want to say that because a lot of people think bad. It's the inner structure frame that's bent. We have to get that all back square again, and we're the type of shop that gets it within a millimeter, okay? A lot of shops will get it close and throw a couple washers under the bumper. No, You know, all these years I've been in business, and Nick will tell you, honesty and fixing the cars right is number one. You know, like he was saying on the service side, when people come in for service, we don't try to sell like some of the other places do. We'll say, you need this now, come back later for that, because that's the way I've always done it, and that's the way it should be. And when Nick was talking about maintenance, a lot of people don't pre-think maintenance. It's Friday afternoon and they think about it. You know, when you spend all this money on these cars, you should really sit down and have a maintenance schedule. And the best schedule I could tell you is the owner's manual. So again, with the collision end of it, it's not, sometimes you have to bring people back, and Nick will get them all the time. The guy will be a little rammy because his car's not done, and then when he comes, it's like, oh my, and then he shows them pictures. Oh, I had no idea, and most people don't know the whole, repair procedure. Yes, Len?
Mike.
Yeah.
Where's the point where it comes into, and I hear this all the time in the insurance business, is like, where's the point where it's the car is so damaged it's a total,
Yep.
from your perspective, to a, I can rebuild it.
Well, there's-
Okay.
Any car can be rebuilt
Right.
per se, but it comes down to the money end of it.
Right.
And usually the cutoff is 80%. Nick?
They call it an economical total. So the 2000 Neon, I hate to pick on that poor guy's car, it's not going to take much to total versus the 2015 GL 450 that's still worth a good amount of money. We're going to spend a lot of money fixing that car before we total it. And again, I'm not picking on you, Sandy. You've come up in a lot. It's a really good example.
And then on the other end, while I'm thinking of it, the classic car, what's that little purple thing worth, the Thames? Well, people buy insurance of a stated value. And I do appraisals for people like that W30 in the window. So that gentleman had that insured for $17,000. I told him to double it at least, because God forbid if something would happen, you want to get fair market value for the car. Unfortunately, the new cars, there isn't really a stated value. They'll see what a 2015 Subaru Forester with 60,000 miles is selling for in the lot. They'll take a couple of them and they'll come up with that number. And if it's say $12,000, then the collision repairs can't go over 80%. Or if it's even close, or if it's very, very crooked and violated, they don't want a liability of you coming back with it wearing tires out or the windows leak or anything like that. So that's basically how they do it.
This particular one came in, and we knew we only had so much wiggle room to work with. So before we cut it all apart, we had to look at it. If the frame rails were bent, if something was severely damaged, we would have pulled the plug and it would have went bye-bye, so to speak. But in this particular case, we looked at it. It's going to need some additional work. It usually always does, but it's within reason. And usually they tell me, I said, what am I working with? What kind of budget? Am I $500 away from total, or am I $5,000 away from total? Which obviously means a lot, and that depends on the year, the make, the model, the mileage, the condition, the value of the car. Subarus are worth more than Dodge Neons.
And we
Again,
stop picking on the Neon, Nick. So we talked earlier about maintenance and computers and so forth, right? Well, that's one new thing that we do now. All 2013 and newer, we scan the computer the minute the car hits, and we scan the computer when it leaves. For example, we did a Toyota pickup truck that was hit in the back, and I hop in it to move it around. Every light on the dashboard was lit up. The ABS controller was damaged. The rear, when it got hit, there's a sensor in the back that does this and does that. So our job is to make sure when it comes in and leaves. If it comes in with a check engine light, it's going to leave with a check engine light if it's not accident related. Right. But anything accident related, airbag, ABS, sensors, we do that on every car every day that comes in and out because of the sensors and the controls and the park assist and all that stuff. So.
And that's a really great point because, again, when I talk to customers, they just don't really realize that when there is a collision, how many sensors are in bumpers today.
Right.
And what has to be recalibrated.
Right.
Even a simple windshield repair today
Right.
with in-dash cameras and other things that go with that, sensors for windshield
Rain.
operation,
Yeah.
rain, all
Yeah.
that, all has to be recalibrated. So
Right.
they always ask, well, why the price keeps going up every year? Well, the more and more the cars get sophisticated,
That's right.
it's more and more that it takes to get them back on the road.
Right.
We had a Honda
And
Pilot
you see
come
that
in.
all the time.
every day.
We had a Honda Pilot come in. It didn't dent it. It scratched it. I don't know what happened, but it has the. If you drive a Honda, when you turn the right turn signal, the camera on the dash has a meter that shows the right side blind spot. We took that camera off. We had to recalibrate that camera because we took the mirror off to paint the door, and it wasn't even. It was perfectly drivable. The guy could have cashed the check and been fine driving that vehicle, but he needed to make it proper back to Honda spec. We needed to do that.
Right.
And this is kind of what we talk about with insurance. Sometimes you see the lizard on TV and well, he's cheaper than everybody. Well, there's a reason why. And that's kind of with everything, which I know Len could probably answer a little better than we could, the value of what type of insurance you're getting. What type of parts are you getting? Are you getting aftermarket parts that we don't care about the quality? Are we getting OEM parts, which are from the dealer? Are we getting something in between? And so that's something that's very important to consider when you choose insurance. Why is it? So I look at, and again, if people ask me, I'm going to switch to this company. You don't really care about monthly bills or whatever. You're going to pay the bill. But what happens when you actually need it? How are they to deal with? What kind of parts are they going to use? Some people, like I said, some companies want cheap, 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 cheap. Well, that reflects the quality of the job that we can deliver because you pay for what you get, I guess they always say.
Right. And that's a couple points on that is one is a lot of people, I don't want to use my insurance because my rates are going to go up. So I use the other guy's insurance. I said, so the enemy is fixing your car. Do you think they're going to do anything for you? In other words, I had a rider on my policy for 10 years that I had to use OEM parts. If the guy that hit me insurance isn't going to obey that, that's on my insurance. So always call your insurance company. That's what you pay it for. Let them represent you, your everything. And something a lot of people don't know, we had a lot of deer hits, okay, lately. Deer hits are not under the $500 deductible. They're usually 50 or 100 because it's not a collision. It's an act of the deer.
Act of God,
Same
they call
with
it, not at
windows.
fault.
Comprehensive. Len got it. Same with windshields. A lot of people don't know that. I need a windshield in my car, but I don't have 400 or 500. Usually that's covered under your comprehensive and your insurance. So we're constantly, Nick and I are constantly educating people every day that you really think should know this stuff, but the last time they were in an accident was 1985, and a lot of stuff has changed since then. So it is a very challenging business for us to make people aware that, yes, your car is going to be here a month because of the extensive damage. There's nothing we can do. There's 160 hours written on this car. That's 4 weeks of labor. So just do the math. I don't know about this one, but I'm just saying in certain cases, we've had to spell it out to people. We can't do 100 hours worth of labor in 3 days. So
These repairs reflect in the resale value.
some insurance companies at random, Nick can tell you a little better, they do claim it under the car.
Well, Carfax can work for and against you. So let's just say, the lizard, as we all know, reports to Carfax. Well, maybe Jake from State Farm, doesn't report to Carfax, and I don't know. So the $5,000 hit could not show up, but the $800 bumper repair will. So it all depends.
It all depends. It really does.
Today.
Yep.
So there is a thing called diminished value. If I have this Mitsubishi and the Mitsubishi next to me, the Mitsubishi that was never hit and the Mitsubishi that was, which one are you going to want? I'm going to want the one that's never hit, typically in a perfect world. So that can be a problem. And it's, like I said, I mean, if you have a 10-year-old vehicle and it had a $3,000 hit at one time, that's the life of a 10-year-old car. If you have a year-old car that had a $10,000 hit, you might think like, maybe
if they report it.
I may pass on this one.
Yep.
Legally, if you pay cash for the repair, if you decide, Dick's like, Nick, I'm just going to pay you outright. I'm just going to write you a check and pay for the repairs. Legally, we can't report that to Carfax. So that will never show up, even if we did a lot of work to your car. And that's a legal thing. The insurance company reports to Carfax. So it's not Wheels in Motion. It's not Nick. That's the insurance company. If you make a claim to whatever company you have or whatever company you're dealing with, you do that. Which brings me to another point. A lot of people think that you have to, this company said I have to go to Joe's Auto Body. You can take it anywhere you want. If you tell them, I want to go to Wheels in Motion, that's the guys I feel comfortable with, they can't stop you. It's called steering. There's laws in Pennsylvania to prevent that. So that's something that is, yes, sir.
But could I interject though? You guys are a authorized shop for many insurance carriers.
Many
out
insurance
there.
companies, yeah, but
So
not
make
all of
sure-
them.
Yeah, not all of them, but if you are with that carrier, coming to an authorized shop gives the customer certain guarantees that if I'm coming to an authorized shop that's authorized by that carrier, the work is warranted under the company.
Well, at the end of the day, we warranty that work.
Right.
Like, I don't deal with Progressive, I'll tell you, but you can bring your car here. So at the end of the day, if you have problems with our work, the Progressive's going to call us and say, Mr. Geisler has an issue with the work that you prepared to his car, and we have to stand behind that. Now, if it's a part issue, if Progressive selected a certain part and there was a part with that issue, Progressive will stand behind that. There is different processes, but you can take your car anywhere you want, and there won't be any extra fees, any extra charges. It's just, it does have certain pros and cons, but we've been able to work with every insurance company and not have an issue and give everybody the same job. For the customer, they don't pay any more, any less, you know?
All right, I want to close tonight by saying thank you to everybody in the Rotary. You're free to walk around, ask us some more questions. We're just going to stop the TV show at this point. My grandson Seth here wants to say Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
And thank you. Thanks for coming. And we'll see you again next time on PCTV.